Few names evoke as much intrigue, controversy, and fascination as Niccolo Machiavelli. Branded as a schemer, a cynic, and even the father of political manipulation, Machiavelli has had more influence on humanity than simply politics. In fact, he has more influence than you may realize. Hence today's video, where you and I will uncover how his philosophies reshaped human reasoning, morality, and our understanding of psychology itself forever. When we hear the word Machiavellian, it often conjures images of deception, manipulation, and power at all costs. Hence his quote, "The ends justify the means." But is that really all there is to the story? Let's start with his background. He was born in 1469 in Florence, Italy, during a time of severe instability, both politically, religiously, and even morally, due to the emergence of the Renaissance. Renaissance humanism and the intense power struggles between city states and monarchs and the Catholic Church, which had a lot of power and sadly a lot of corruption, led to his more pragmatic view on the world. And this chaotic environment wasn't just the backdrop of Machiavelli's life, it was his classroom. He was able to observe firsthand the ruthless realities of politics, diplomacy, and war. He was, in fact, a warrior and a general in politics multiple times in different positions. And eventually he was exiled for his effects on the local governments. In his most famous work, The Prince, Machiavelli shattered the idealistic notions of leadership that humanity had been following for centuries, really. He argued that a successful ruler doesn't always have to be virtuous, but must be pragmatic. It is better to be feared than loved, he wrote, if you cannot be both. Please note that he did say, if you can't be both. In the original work, the translation comes to, it is best for a prince to be both feared and loved by his people. But if he cannot be both feared and loved, it would be better for him to be feared than loved, for then he is a more effective ruler. This wasn't just a guide for rulers, it was a challenge to the centuries of moral philosophy. Machiavelli had separated ethics from politics, two studies of thought which had been closely intertwined for centuries, as we have just stated, suggesting that the ends could justify the means in governance. From emperors to CEOs, Machiavelli's principles have become a playbook for navigating power dynamics, often blurring the lines between right and wrong. But his work wasn't just political, it was also deeply psychological. He understood human nature with a sharp, almost clinical precision. He believed people are driven by self instinct, fear, and ambition. Leaders, therefore, must understand and leverage these instincts to maintain control, is what he says. And let's be honest, he is kind of right about that. The psychological issues he was very intelligent in regards to. But keep in mind, when you separate politics from ethics, when you separate morality from any aspect of the physical world, you're going to eventually result in immorality of some kind. This leads to problems like, say, I don't know, the Holocaust, communism, humanism, existentialism. I could keep going, but you get the point. And modern psychology echoes many of his insights. Behavioral economics, social influence theories, and even concepts like the quote unquote dark triad, traits of Machiavellianism, narcissism, and psychopathy, are rooted in his observations. Before him, many thinkers believed in a more universal moral order that governed human actions. Not all of them, but the majority did. Machiavelli's approach was, at the time, revolutionary. He prioritized practicality over idealism and argued for a flexible, adaptive mindset, one that was not held by moral grounding. We've already explored the issues of this, and you can understand why this is a questionable practice for any ruler in any time period. Because when you separate morality from governance, injustice occurs, which eventually leads to political instability, which eventually leads to the ruler of that time being overthrown. So, in the end, if you think about it, Machiavelli's push for quote unquote pragmatism or a flexible adaptive mindset would have led to the rulers who followed his advice eventually being overthrown by her people due to the people's just not taking that nonsense. They need moral grounding. Most people are well morally grounded, or if they're not, they have some idea of how they should be and what good treatment is. And when you remove that from the equation, what you end up with is a very unhappy, unsatisfied, and quite pissed off people, quite angry people. And Machiavelli probably would have seen that if his theories had been implemented according to the way he wanted them to be. But let's get back to our main topic at the moment. This shift from universal ideas to pragmatic reasoning influenced philosophers like Hobbes, Nietzsche, and even modern existentialists, as we already said. In a way, Machiavelli laid the groundwork for a more secular, human centered approach to reasoning that led to serious historical events like the French Revolution, the Holocaust, the rise of communism in the East and the West. In the modern day, Machiavelli's influence extends far beyond politics, though. His philosophies are studied in psychology, business, and ethics courses worldwide, alongside works like The Art of War. At the end of the day, whether you love him or you hate him, his ideas force us to confront uncomfortable truths about power, morality, and human nature. Yet they also raise serious moral issues which must be addressed if you're going to take his work seriously.